His death. Chapter 1. The Awakening. Abraham is a software engineer, smart, capable, the kind of guy who could build something that changes his entire career trajectory. He's been sitting on this project for 6 months, not because he doesn't know what to do, but because he's perfected the art of productive procrastination. He researches the perfect tech stack, reorganizes his workspace, buys another productivity book. Monday morning, I'll start tomorrow when I'm fresh. Thursday afternoon, I need one more planning session to get this right. Sunday night, next week will be different. I can feel it. But next week is never different. Because Abraham isn't lazy. He's strategic. Strategic about avoiding the actual work. He's tried everything. Pomodoro technique? Check. Accountability partner who texts him daily? Check. Reward systems, punishment systems, motivation playlists? All of it. Nothing worked. And here's why. He was fighting the wrong enemy. He thought he needed better system, better discipline, better motivation. He was wrong. Then one night, drowning in another productivity research session, he stumbles across something different. Miyamoto Musashi's Dakkodo, The Path of Aloneness, 21 principles written by an undefeated samurai before his death. Abraham scrolls through them. Most sound like fortune cookie wisdom. Then one line stops him cold. Do not let yourself be sidetracked by the unimportant. He's been sidetracked for 6 months straight. But it's the next principle that detonates his brain. Act without hesitation. For words, Abraham reads it again. Then again, something clicks. He thinks about Musashi's 61 duel, undefeated. Not because he spent months preparing. Not because he waited until he felt ready. Musashi didn't prepare to fight. Musashi fought. When a duel was called, he showed up. No warm-up routine. No mental preparation ritual. Just immediate violent action. The opponent draws their sword. Musashi's already moving. The fight is over before the other samurai finishes their opening stance. Abraham realizes the sickening truth. He's been treating his project like it needs preparation. Like there's some threshold of readiness he has to cross first. But Musashi never crossed that threshold. There was no threshold. There was only the gap between stimulus and response. And Musashi lived in that gap with sword already drawn. Abraham has been planning to plan, preparing to prepare. The project doesn't need another framework review. His brain needs to learn what Musashi knew. Hesitation is death. Chapter 2. The Samurai's Secret. Musashi was 13 years old when he killed his first opponent. Not practice, not sparring. An actual duel to the death. His opponent was a trained swordsman named Arima Kihei, a grown man with years of technique. Musashi showed up with a wooden stick. No warm-up routine. No meditation to center himself. No mental preparation checklist. The duel was called. Musashi moved. Arima died. The entire fight lasted seconds. Not because Musashi was physically superior, but because while Arima was still deciding his opening move, Musashi had already struck. This is the principle the samurai called Zanshin. Literally translates to remaining mind. But it's not about thinking. It's the opposite. It's the state of continuous action without internal debate. Western culture glorifies the decision-making process. We celebrate people who think things through. The samurai did something radically different. They eliminated the decision entirely. When a threat appeared, the samurai didn't decide to draw his sword. The situation demanded it. He responded. No negotiation between stimulus and action. The gap didn't exist. Here's where modern neuroscience proves the samurai were right. MIT researchers discovered the brain creates a 0.3-second gap between perceiving something and acting on it. 0.3 seconds. Doesn't sound like much, but that's where your entire procrastination problem lives. In that tiny gap, your prefrontal cortex constructs elaborate justifications. I should research this more. I'm not in the right headspace. Tomorrow will be better. The gap is where procrastination breeds. It's the petri dish. The samurai spent years training to collapse that gap. They turned response into reflex. Stimulus became action. Without the middleman of decision, most people exist in what we'll call planning state. It's an endless loop. You plan to make a plan. You prepare to prepare. You're always one step away from actual execution. It feels productive because you're thinking about the thing. Your brain gives you credit for intention. But planning state is a black hole. You can orbit it forever and never escape. Then there's execution state. Continuous forward motion. Samurai lived here, not because they were more disciplined, but because they eliminated the gap where planning state happened. Abraham realizes he's been trapped in planning state for 6 months. Every Sunday night promise. I'll start tomorrow when I'm fresh declaration. Every research session on the perfect framework. All planning state. He thought the project needed more preparation. He was wrong. The project was ready on day one. His brain just needed to learn what Musashi knew at 13. The gap between I should do this and actually doing it, that gap is the enemy. Not the difficulty of the work, not his skill level, not the perfect condition, the gap itself. And Abraham's brain had turned that 0.3 second gap into a 6-month chasm. Time to collapse it. Chapter 3, The First Strike Principle. Musashi wrote something that sounds like a riddle. In strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close and to take a distance view of close things. Abraham reads it 5 times before it clicks. Future tasks feel abstract. They're distant. Your brain treats, starting the project next week, the same way it treats a vacation plan for next year. Not real, not urgent, just a concept floating in the future. Musashi's teaching. Make the distant immediate. Treat tomorrow's task like it's happening right now. Make your brain feel the pressure of proximity. Abraham decides to weaponize this. He's heard of the 5-second rule. Count backwards, then move. Sounds like self-help garbage. But then he learns what Musashi called it. Sun No Sen, the first strike principle. Attack at the exact instant your enemy shows intention to attack. Not after they move. Not when you're ready. The microsecond you detect intention. In a duel, the samurai who strikes first usually wins. Not because the first strike is devastating, but because it eliminates the opponent's preparation phase. They're still forming their strategy when your sword is already in motion. Apply to procrastination. Attack the task the instant you notice yourself delaying. The instant, not 5 minutes later. Not after this one thing. The moment you catch yourself thinking, I should start that project. You have 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then you move, physically, toward the task. No negotiation phase. No, just one more thing. Sun No Sen means the gap closes before your brain can weaponize it against you. Monday morning. Week 1. Abraham wakes up. Task. Write the project outline. Old pattern is hardwired. Opens laptop. Sees email notification. Just check real quick. Opens email. Suddenly it's 40 minutes later. Need coffee first to think clearly. Makes elaborate pour over. Scrolls phone while it brews. 2 hours evaporate. Project outline remains blank. New pattern. Laptop open. Email notification appears. Brain says just check real quick. Abraham catches it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Opens blank document. Types title. Not elegant. Not perfect. But he's in the arena. That's the entire game. Here's what he discovers. Starting imperfectly destroys preparing perfectly. His brain screams the whole time. You're not ready. You need more research. This opening is garbage. He types anyway. And something strange happens. The resistance is loudest in the first 90 seconds. Then it fades. Not completely, but enough. The act of typing quiets the voice demanding preparation. Momentum becomes its own motivation. Day 3. Stares at the screen. Brain whispers, maybe research one more framework, just to be sure this is the right approach. Abraham recognizes a trap. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Opens code editor. Starts writing code. Imperfect code. Probably has bugs. Doesn't matter. He's coding, not researching. Day 5. Brain tries a new strategy. Maybe outline this section more before coding it. Clever. Sounds reasonable. But Abraham sees through it now. It's planning state, wearing a disguise. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands on keyboard. Code appears on screen. His brain is learning a new truth. Negotiation time is over. There is no gap to exploit anymore. Stimulus meets response without the detour through doubt. The procrastination patterns thrash and scream. They're dying. And Abraham is watching them die with the same indifference Musashi showed his opponents. Sun No Sen, first strike. The war has begun. Chapter 4, The Void Mind. Week 2. Abraham is starting tasks now. The 5-second rule broke his initial resistance, but a new enemy emerges. He's coding, but his mind won't shut up. Internal commentary runs on loop. This section isn't good enough. You should restart. This approach is inefficient. Someone senior would do this differently. He's no longer procrastinating before the work. He's procrastinating within the work itself. Stops mid-function to research a better pattern. Deletes 20 lines because they feel wrong. Rewrites the same section 4 times before moving forward. He's in the arena, but he's fighting himself instead of the opponent. Musashi had a teaching for this. Mushin literally translates to no mind or empty mind. Sounds like meditation retreat nonsense. It's not. It's the most practical combat principle ever developed. Mushin means not thinking about fighting while you're fighting. The sword moves. You don't narrate the movement. You don't judge whether it's the optimal angle. You don't pause mid-strike to consider alternatives. The action flows without internal commentary. Musashi's duels were over in seconds because while his opponents were thinking about sword technique, Musashi was pure action. No mind, just execution. Here's the modern problem. We confuse being thoughtful with overthinking. We think the internal critic makes us better. It doesn't. It creates friction. The samurai trained for full awareness with zero judgment. They saw everything, processed everything. But they didn't stop to evaluate everything. Judgment is what kills flow. Your brain can either create or criticize. It cannot do both simultaneously. When you try, you get what Abraham has. Stop-start execution. Progress that feels like dragging a boulder uphill. Abraham implements a new protocol. Execution without evaluation. Separate creation from criticism completely. First 25 minutes, pure output. Mushin state. Code pours out without judgment. No stop and consider if this is the right approach. No deleting because something feels off. Just continuous forward motion. Then 5 minutes. Review and adjust. Now the critic gets its turn. Refactor. Improve. Optimize. But these two modes never overlap. Never. Morning session becomes pure creation. He writes code like Musashi swung his sword. No commentary. When a voice says this isn't good enough, he notices it and keeps typing. Afternoon session. Now he reviews. Refactors. His velocity tripled. Not because he's working faster, but because his brain stopped interrupting itself every 40 seconds. The stop-start pattern dies. Continuous motion replaces it. Here's the counterintuitive truth. His code quality improves. When he stops obsessing over quality during creation, the final product gets better. Why? Because obsessing fragments his attention. He's trying to build and judge simultaneously. It's like Musashi trying to fight while also critiquing his own stance. The fluidity dies. The effectiveness dies. Musashi's swordsmanship was legendary not because he thought deeply about each movement, but because he became one with the action. No separation between warrior and sword. No internal debate. Just pure, uninterrupted execution. Week 3. Abraham catches himself mid-task. He's written 15 lines of code. His brain whispers, just check if there's a better approach real quick. He recognizes it instantly now. This is disguised procrastination. The critic trying to interrupt creation time. 5 seconds. Mushin. He returns to the work without the detour. Hands stay on keyboard. Code continues flowing. The project hits 40% complete. 6 months of planning. 3 weeks of execution. The math is obscene. But it proves what Musashi knew. The obstacle isn't the work. It's the mind commenting on the work. Kill the commentary. The work completes itself. Chapter 5. The Unbreakable Rhythm. Week 4. Abraham faces a new enemy. Inconsistency. He's got momentum now. Sun no sun gets him started. Mushin keeps him moving. But the momentum feels fragile, like he's balancing on a wire. One missed day and he feels the old patterns trying to return. The voice that says, you've been so consistent. One day off won't hurt. That voice is a liar. One day becomes 2. 2 becomes, I'll restart Monday. Monday becomes never. He's seen this pattern destroy every previous attempt. He needs something stronger than motivation. He needs inevitability. Musashi called it Hyōhō, the way of strategy. But here's what most people miss. Musashi said the way of strategy is the way of everyday life. Not something you do when inspired. Not when conditions are perfect. Every single day. Same time. Same place. Musashi trained at dawn. Every dawn. For decades, the rhythm wasn't about discipline. It was about removing decision points. When you train at dawn every day for 10 years, your body shows up automatically. There's no decision. No, should I train today? The question doesn't exist. The rhythm erases it. Abraham builds what he calls commitment architecture, makes it structurally impossible to back out, declares publicly 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., project work, 90 days straight, posts it on social media, tells his manager, tells his girlfriend, tells his friends, screenshots it, pins it to his wall. Now, backing out isn't just personal failure. It's public humiliation. He's weaponized social pressure. The ancient part of his brain that fears judgment now works for him instead of against him. Every morning, the question isn't should I work? The question is, can I face everyone knowing I broke the promise? The answer is always no. 6 a.m. specifically. Not because it's optimal for everyone, because the world is asleep. No emails, no texts, no meetings, no interruption. Just Abraham and the work. The time becomes sacred. Like a samurai's duel appointment. You don't reschedule. You show up or you die. Period. The appointment is fixed in reality, immovable. Abraham treats 6 a.m. the same way. Non-negotiable. The code will be written between 6 and 8 a.m., whether he feels good or terrible, whether he slept 8 hours or 3. The time doesn't care about his feeling. Week 5, the test arrives. Terrible sleep. 3 hours broken. Wakes up feeling destroyed. Scratchy throat. Body aches. Might be getting sick. His brain immediately offers a solution. Take the day off. You've earned it. You'll work better tomorrow when you're healthy. It sounds so reasonable. But Abraham remembers something. A samurai doesn't fight when he feels good. He fights when the battle comes. The opponent doesn't care if you're tired. The duel happens regardless. 6 a.m. Opens laptop. Everything hurts. Works for 30 minutes instead of 120. Writes maybe 15 lines of code. They're probably not great. Doesn't matter. The rhythm continues. The gap is avoided. That's the entire victory. Because procrastination is a parasite. It needs gaps to survive. One gap becomes its breeding ground. Abraham gives it 0 gaps. The consistency is unbreakable not because he's superhuman, but because he eliminated the conditions that allow breaks. Week 7. People start commenting. Coworkers, how are you finishing this so fast? His girlfriend, you're different. I don't know how to explain it. His manager asks what changed. Abraham doesn't know how to explain Mushin or Sun No Sen without sounding insane. So he just says, I show up every day. They think he's being humble. He's being literal. He's not faster. He's just consistent. And consistency murders procrastination. Not because you outwork it, but because you starve it. No gaps, no negotiations, just rhythm. Unbreakable, inevitable, absolute. Chapter 6, The Death Ground Strategy. Day 60. Abraham hits the part he's been unconsciously avoiding. The technical challenge that lives at the project's core. The reason he procrastinated for 6 months in the first place. He's been circling it, building everything around it. But now there's nowhere left to hide. This section requires skills he's not sure he has, patterns he's never implemented, the kind of deep work that exposes whether you're actually capable or just good at looking busy. His brain offers familiar comfort. Maybe research this more first. Maybe there's a better approach you haven't found yet. He recognizes a trap. But this time, the trap feels justified. This isn't fake difficulty. This is real. Musashi had a principle for moments like this. Shi Chū No Sen strategy in the midst of death means placing yourself in positions where retreat becomes impossible. Ancient samurai would sometimes fight with their backs to a cliff, literal cliff. 1 step backward equals death. No escape route, only forward. Modern people call this insane. The samurai called it strategic, because when retreat is impossible, your brain stops calculating exit strategies. All that energy redirects toward winning. Fear of death becomes fuel for action. The survival instinct that usually screams run away has nowhere to run, so it screams fight harder instead. Abraham needs his own clip. Schedules a demo with his entire team for day 75. 15 days from now. Announces it in the company Slack. Puts it on the shared calendar. Tells his manager it's happening. No ambiguity. No, I'll present when it's ready. Day 75. 2 weeks. The hardest part of the project must be functional enough to demonstrate in front of everyone. Now failure isn't private anymore. It's not just Abraham knowing he gave up. It's public humiliation. Standing in front of the team with nothing to show. Explaining why he announced a demo and couldn't deliver. His stomach drops when he hits send on the announcement. Good. That fear is a point. Every morning becomes a pressure cooker. 6 a.m. Opens laptop. The thought comes immediately. Can't hide. Can't delay. Can't fake it. The demo date is fixed. Immovable. Written in everyone's calendar. The social pressure is unbearable. Exactly the point. His procrastination patterns thrive in private. No witnesses. No consequences. Just Abraham and his comfortable lies about starting tomorrow. Public commitment kills those patterns. Not through discipline. Through terror. The terror of social failure is stronger than the comfort of delay. Days 60 through 75. Hardest 2 weeks of his life. Multiple moments of pure panic. 3 a.m. awake, staring at the ceiling. Brain screaming. You're not capable of this. You've committed to something beyond your skill level. The demo will expose you as a fraud. Day 63. Hits a bug he can't solve. Spends 4 hours stuck. Wants to quit. Wants to cancel the demo. Wants to fake sick on day 75. But the announcement is public. Backing out is worse than failing forward. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mushin. Execute. Tries a different approach. The bug breaks. Small progress. Day 68. Another wall. Panic returns. But the demo date doesn't move. It's cliff edge, forward or death. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Code. Day 70. The section is ugly but functional. Day 73. Refinements. Day 75. Morning. Absolute terror. Opens a presentation. Entire team on the call. He presents. Not perfect. Not even close to perfect. But complete. Functional. Real. Something that existed only in his head for 6 months now exists in reality. Took 75 days of execution. The team goes quiet. Then someone unmutes. This is incredible. How long have you been working on it? Abraham almost laughs. 6 months of preparation. 75 days of execution. Standing ovation in a Zoom call. But that's not the victory. The victory is simpler. He stood at the cliff edge, and instead of stepping back, he jumped. Chapter 7. The permanent transformation. The project leads to a promotion. More responsibility. Better title. Higher salary. People congratulate Abraham. Act like that's the story. It's not. The real victory has nothing to do with career advancement. The real victory. Abraham is no longer a procrastinator. That identity died somewhere between day 1 and day 75. Got executed and buried. What changed wasn't his productivity system. What changed was him. Old Abraham operated on a simple belief. I'll start when I'm ready. New Abraham knows a different truth. I start, then I get ready. The samurai doesn't wait for courage. Courage comes from action. Readiness is a myth sold to people who need an excuse. 4 principles killed his procrastination. Son knows senator first strike. 5-second rule, weaponized. Attack hesitation the instant you notice yourself delaying. Not after you feel motivated. Immediately. Mushin. Void mind. Execute without self-judgment. Create and criticize separately. Never simultaneously. Your brain can build or evaluate. Not both. Hyōhō. Daily strategy. Non-negotiable rhythm. Fixed time. Remove decision points. Show up whether you feel like it or not. Shi Chū No Senator death ground strategy. Public commitment. Make retreat more painful than forward progress. Burn the boats. Back to the cliff. These principles work for any task you've been delaying. Writing, fitness, business, relationships, doesn't matter. The principles are universal because procrastination is universal. The shape changes, but the disease is identical. That gap between intention and action. Musashi collapsed it. You can too. But here's the warning nobody gives you. This method makes you uncomfortable to be around. Abraham's friends started saying things. You're being too intense. Relax a little. You don't need to prove anything. His girlfriend. I miss when you were more spontaneous. Coworkers watch him arrive at 6 a.m. every day and make jokes about it. The jokes aren't jokes. Their discomfort disguised as humor. Perfect. Their discomfort is your confirmation. Normal people protect comfort. They negotiate with themselves. They wait for perfect conditions. Warriors destroy comfort. They understand comfort is the enemy disguised as a friend. Musashi fought 61 duels, never lost once, not because he was the most skilled swordsman in Japan. Other fighters had better technique, better training, better weapons. Musashi won because he never hesitated. While his opponents were still preparing their stance, calculating the optimal opening move, adjusting their grip, he struck. First strike advantage isn't about speed. It's about eliminating the gap. Your delayed tasks are duels. Your procrastination is your opponent preparing. The samurai who strikes first wins. Always. So here's the question. Are you capable of this transformation? Wrong question. Everyone's capable. The real question is whether you're willing to kill the part of yourself that needs comfort, that needs perfect conditions, that needs to feel ready before starting. Because that part of you will keep you planning forever. And planning is just procrastination with a fancy name. You know this already. You've been planning for months, maybe years. The plan is ready. You're the problem. Subscribe. Activate the bell. Comment your death ground strategy. What task will you publicly commit to? Make it real. Make it painful to back out. Remember, the samurai who hesitates is already dead. The samurai who acts is undefeated. Musashi wrote, think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Stop thinking deeply about your readiness. Start acting lightly on your tasks. You've made it this far. That already makes you different. See you in the next video.